Welcome to the broadcast. This is KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. Governance experts say it is a matter of when, not if, efforts to push for a constitutional referendum before the 2022 general election begin in earnest. The 11-member Building Bridges Initiative Steering Task Force has completed working on the BBI document, which is set to be presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta. The head of state will be seeking to make sure everyone is aligned to deliver success on the plebiscite. President Kenyatta yesterday met various political leaders drawn from Western Kenya who are supporting the BBI process, where several issues affecting the region were discussed. One of those issues was the revival of the ailing sugar sector, a key election issue in Western Kenya. The meeting at Harambee House was attended by all the Western Kenya county governors. Kakamega's Wycliffe Oparanya, his Bungoma counterpart, Wycliffe Wangamati, Busia's Sospita Ojamong, Wilbur Otichilo of Vihiga, and Trans Nzoia's Patrick Haimba, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, and the Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, Francis Atwoli, were also in attendance. Now, the attendance list mirrored that of another series of political meetings at Atwoli's homes in Kajiado and Kakamega, caucused around bringing together the vote-rich Western Kenya region. And missing from the president's meeting yesterday was the Mani National Congress party leader Musalia Mudavadi and his Ford Kenya counterpart Moses Wetangula. The two have been quite vocal about the issue of reviving the sugar sector, and Mudavadi has been seen for long and even named spokesman of the Western Kenya region. Just what is cooking? Let's now bring in the Mani National Congress party leader Musalia Mudavadi to speak to us here on KTN Prime. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. Now, you have spoken very passionately about the sugar sector, and it was part of the agenda in yesterday's meeting with the president and probably the BBI. Do you think you are being deliberately sidelined?
Well, first of all, Kitili, before I comment on that, let me just take a moment to condole with the family of the families of the two children who have passed on in Machakos. It's a very tragic incident, and I really speak for many Kenyans when I say that we look forward to the police conducting a thorough investigation to come to the conclusion as to what really happened to these young souls in our society, and at the same time to really commiserate with the two families. Be that as it may now, I would like to just point out that the meeting that took place in Harambee House is perfectly in order. President Uhuru Kenyatta is the president of all Kenyans in the Republic, and he can choose whom to see, when to see them, and he's not answerable to anybody when he has such engagements. Yes, the meeting that took place was not known to me, neither was it known to Wetangula, because I've asked him at the same time. He says he was not aware of it, neither was he invited to it. So from that context, we say that we were not at that meeting and I was not there, and I cannot vouch for the details of that meeting. But as I said, the president is free to meet everybody, and nobody should put political ventilators on President Uhuru. Let him have the freedom to engage with anybody in this country. He's, after all, our president. Now, the second thing that I would just want to point out is that there are so many challenges that affect the people of Western Kenya. And indeed, sugar becomes quite paramount, including not just for the original Western province, but it covers all through to Nyanza as well. And it's a matter of grave concern that virtually that industry has collapsed. So it is important that it is addressed at all levels, at the county government level, and indeed even at the national level, because about 7 million lives are dependent or were dependent on the sugar industry. What is critical, however, Kitili, is that until we can see clearly that these proposals are underpinned by a budget appropriated by the national parliament, then the talk around it remains a wish list. The Minister for Treasury, Yatani, has just completed his budget, and it is very clear, it's a glaring gap that no resources have been set aside for the revival of the sugar sector at this point in time. There was a task force. By the way, I did not agree to a task force. I personally was advocating for a judicial commission of inquiry into what created the problems in the sugar industry.
So we'll get
because
into
we'll
get into the issue of the sugar sector very shortly. I wanted to ask you this.
But I just want to, let me just finish that point and then we'll come back to it. The Judicial Commission of Inquiry would have helped in isolating and identifying individuals or corporates who either through commission or omission have been complicit in bringing the sugar industry to its knees. The task force report has not been able to do that.
Given the weighty issues that you raised here, and of which I'll ask you about the government's plan to lease 5 state-owned corporations, sugar companies, yesterday's meeting mirrored a number of political meetings that have taken place in many parts of this country, including Kajiado. Do you think, given the weighty matters that were being discussed, because I can confirm from the Presidential Strategic Communication Unit that the sugar issue was discussed, do you think you should have been part of that conversation, as important as it is?
In fact, that relates to your other question, whether I am being isolated or whether Wetangula is being isolated. My friend, I would simply say this. I would be very worried if I'm being isolated from the people of Western Kenya. I can tell you for free that I am a very happy man and confident person that the position and the issues we have articulated are not isolating me from the people of Western Kenya. So I'm not a worried person in that context whatsoever. I think the people who should be worried are the ones who are giving the impression that they have the ear of the people of Western Kenya, when in reality they are distancing themselves from the people of Western Kenya. The sugar industry is important, and I don't have to be at every session where this debate comes up. I think the position is clear that if it is going to be privatization, and you've alluded to the Minister for Agriculture making comments about leasing the nucleus estates, this is the land that is there. I think for the public knowledge, it should be known that virtually all the sugar factories are government-owned. That land belongs to the government. Now, we have a privatization committee chaired by, I think, Otuoma. And it has to be very clear that if you're going to go into privatization, the land that constitutes the nucleus estate forms a very critical asset linked to the factory. If that land is leased out to other people, and then you say you want to privatize, for instance, if it is Chemelil Sugar Company, if you lease the nucleus estate to strangers who have different priorities in terms of agriculture, then any investor who wants to buy Chemelil Sugar Factory or invest in it will not find it attractive, because the key asset for Chemelil Sugar Factory shall be the nucleus estate land. So unless the minister comes out clearly that, and through the privatization sector commission, what do they want to do? Why don't they come out openly? We want to see a transparent process. Are we going to put these things to tender so that if I am an investor in Chemelil, I will know that Chemelil has got so many thousand hectares of land which would be available for cane development, and then at the same time there's the mill itself, the sugar mill, which then becomes a package. But if you say you want to lease the land and then later look for people to take it up, we are deluding ourselves. So this clarity must come through.
Okay.
And I always say such things must have clarity.
You've already answered my question
Kitili,
on the
let
sugar,
me add a little more.
on the sugar sector. So I want us to get into
No, let me tell you, there's still one more thing.
Yes.
Please, just one more, very quickly. The Minister of Agriculture has also pronounced himself on a number of things, including stopping imports of various varieties of sugar and so forth. Kitili, isn't he pronouncing these things when the horse has already bolted? The factories are already down. So if you're saying that you're preventing sugar from coming in, Chemelil stopped production long ago. Mohoroni stopped long ago. Mumias has now stopped. Basically, the horse has bolted.
Thank you for that. Your view on the sugar sector is quite clear. I want us to get very quickly, because of time, into the politics. Now, in Western Kenya, there are appearing two, realignments, political realignments, like two political factions, and going by yesterday's meeting and others, it seems very clear. Do you think the so-called Luhya unity is attainable, or is it even necessary from where you sit?
You know, this thing has been there for a long time. And it's a song that I personally am tired of. Do you ever hear a song of Kikuyu unity? Do you ever hear a chorus of Luo unity? Of Turukana unity? Of Mijikenda unity? What is this chorus? I think people must realize that we are all Kenyans. And Kenyans have an opportunity to reflect on issues and then make decisions. So I want to state very critically is that the people of Western region, there's a resurgence because of the pressure that is now emerging when one of its key sectors, the sugar industry and others, have collapsed. Unemployment is high. So there's a resurgence of people feeling that they want to make different choices. This is what is happening in Western Kenya. So as far as I'm concerned, the people who say that there are other groups emerging and what have you, I think are missing the point. In Western Kenya now, people are yearning for a program or policies that will alter and make their welfare better. It is not about being in government. It's about what that government can really do to alter the welfare of the people of Western Kenya and even indeed other Kenyans. So for too long, there's been this perception that let's keep on singing this song about Luhya unity. By the way, we have Tesos in Western Kenya. We have Sabotis in Western Kenya. We have Luos in Western Kenya. We have Teriks in Western Kenya. And we have other Kenyans who have bought land there. We want all of them to work as a unit. That is our desire, and that is my desire. So let me put it this way. Indeed, gold is found in Western Kenya. And you'll remember historically there used to be the scramble for Africa when Africa was being demarcated. I can tell you what is happening now after the realization of the census and the realization of what those numbers mean to the voting patterns. We may have in Western Kenya what you would call the political gold rush.
So,
the political gold rush.
So these things you're speaking about, the political realignments there and the issues, they could be linked to, quite immediately, the BBI process. Now, yesterday's meeting was said to be attended by Western Kenya leaders who are supporting the BBI process. That puts you in a category that seems to indicate that you're not supporting the BBI process. What is your take on the BBI process? Do you think this country needs to go for a referendum before the 2022 election?
I think Kenyans are rational people. And what we need to ask the leaders who went there, were they party to authoring the report that Kenyans have not seen? You have just presented a very good case of a report that is yet to be presented to His Excellency the President. So these friends of ours who are saying they support it, are they privy to the contents of the BBI report? I do not know. The best I can recollect is that a few months ago, I was at KICC, like other Kenyans, and presented my views where I made some very specific aspects that should be considered when the experts associated with the BBI are doing their report. My recommendations were made public. The need not to confuse Kenyans with multiple centers of power. I said that. These are very critical areas. The need to make sure that devolution is properly implemented.
My final
question. The need to make sure that what comes out of the BBI is for the general welfare of the people of Kenya. Now, we are waiting for Haji and his team to present the report to President Uhuru Kenyatta. After that, we, like rational people, will examine it and make our pronouncements. I do not want to engage in speculation before I see the report.
My very final questions to you, very quickly. Do you think Western Kenya needs a spokesperson or a kingpin? If yes, are you that person?
Western Province does not need a kingpin. Western Province is full of good people, and Western Province is ripe in producing a President of the Republic of Kenya. And I want to remind Kenyans that the highest office, in accordance with the Constitution of Kenya, is the President of Kenya. There is no position in the Constitution of Kenya that is designated as the kingpin of the Luyas. So, if you ask me what I want, through God's grace and the will of the Kenyan people, I seek to be the President of the Republic of Kenya and not to be a Luya kingpin.
Thank you, sir. Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi speaking to us here on KTN Prime. Many thanks for speaking to us, sir. You're watching KTN Prime. Time for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we shall be bringing you the very latest from the world of business. Stay with us.